Hi, hello, and welcome to the channel. I'm Lady Celine, and today we are continuing with Chapter 2 of Chaos Head Noah. Is Takumi sane? That is the big question. I have no idea. That was the weirdest psychological assessment I've ever taken, and I don't trust it. I think we left off with Takumi leaving the hospital, so let's see if he feels any better. By the time I got back to Shibuya, it was evening. The hospital itself was in Shibuya Ward, but the closest station was Yoyogi. Taking the train was the fastest way to get there and back. The Yamanote line was as crowded as ever, though, and riding just 2 stations was enough to make me feel exhausted. I didn't think I was up for getting on another train, so I decided to walk from Shibuya Station to the base. There were just too many people at the stations. I hated crowds. They always made me feel like I was going to pass out. I didn't want to spend any more time there than I had to, so I quickly tried to get across Scramble Crossing. That area was so packed it was hard to even walk in a straight line. If you didn't keep a steady forward pace, you'd run into the people walking beside you or get hit from behind. There were also people blocking your path, trying to hand you packs of tissues with ads on them. They'd even force them into your pocket. Okay, that's a little aggressive, but honestly, not the worst handout. I think that'd be actually super handy to have more tissues. I ignored the first one, but the second was a cute lady, so I took some from her. I thought we weren't interested in 3D girls. What the hell? These tissue people were just the worst. They shouldn't have been allowed to stand in the middle of the sidewalk like that. I took the tissues anyway, though, since they were free. I'm sure, honestly, it's probably something that I would get pissed about too. What I hate is when I'm in like a grocery store or a Walmart and there's like people trying to stop you to talk about your energy supplier or car insurance. Those are the worst. And if they just wanted to give me a stack of tissues and let me be on with my day, I think that would be fine. But yeah, I could see it being more common in this area, and that would probably get pretty annoying pretty fast. I looked at the tissues I'd been given. This pack came with a small flyer with white text on a red background. It was a pretty weird color combination, kind of spooky. It wasn't a combination you saw often, that much I was sure of. I read the flyer as I walked along. There is a shortage of type B blood. There is currently a serious shortage of type B blood in Shibuya. We may no longer be able to deliver blood to all the patients that need it. People may die. Please donate blood. Okay, so this is like some like Red Cross type thing. It was a flyer for the blood donation service. As I looked at it, I thought back to the worksheet I'd been given at the hospital. I hadn't seen anything like it when I'd gone there 4 years ago. Maybe it was some new kind of diagnostic that had only gotten popular over the last few years. But still, I felt like I'd seen it before. Deja vu. Again. It felt like that was happening all the time lately. It was really creepy when your mind and body refused to do what you wanted them to. So I tried to dig through my memories to find out what was going on with this deja vu. Is he having deja vu because of the flyer packet, or because of the psychological test? My mother used to take me to the hospital about once a week. No matter what they asked, I'd never respond. I'd just move my head up and down or side to side. At first, they saw me in a normal exam room, but when I showed no signs of recovery, they started sending me someplace different. The other place was some kind of strange counseling room. It had a sofa and lots of stuffed animals, and seemed to have been decorated with the aim of putting the patient at ease. I mean, yeah, I would hope so. They're obviously in a pediatric ward. Dr. Takashina never blamed anybody. He just kept trying to make me better. He was the only one who figured out that I could speak, but just didn't want to say anything. My mother would always talk to me in a deliberately chipper voice. Dr. Takashina would always welcome me with a bright smile. The nurses were always kind too, and... And it felt to me like there had always been somebody else in that room. Another nurse? I don't know. Okay, a man with the glasses and a suit. Right. He was always wearing a dark black suit. It was a weird outfit to see in a hospital. The sunglasses inside is what gave it away for me, but yeah, I could see that being just weird being in the hospital. He was just as quiet as I was. I don't think I ever heard him talk. I never did figure out who he was. He didn't feel like a doctor. He always just stood off to the side, looking out the window. Just eavesdropping on these medical consultations? Okay, yeah, sounds normal. I always called him Mr. Nozomi. He'd never actually given me his name, though.
Nozomi.
Nozomi. The man in the suit always wore a small badge. It read Nozomi. It looked like a logo of some kind, so it probably wasn't a name tag. Yeah, the worksheet had Nozomi logo on it too. Okay, so that's where the deja vu is. So it was the worksheet, and Nozomi is some kind of business. I don't know what business they have in the pediatric psych ward. No wonder I thought I'd seen it somewhere before. I felt a little better now that the mystery was solved. What was Nozomi, though? It was clearly the name of some kind of company.
Maybe
it's a counter-terrorist organization founded by its hot female CEO, Nozomi. Just like in a manga. And before you know it, we're back home. When I got back to the base, I ran a search for Nozomi, but it was just a common word that meant wish in Japanese, too, so there were too many results to really narrow it down. Thinking back, the logical assumption was that Mr. Nozomi worked for the company that made those worksheets, or was a salesman that had been visiting the hospital. See, I guess it would make sense if they were there, if he was there to be selling or testing out a new diagnostic test. Other salesmen, though, I still don't think they should be in the room with the patients. But other actual vendors really wouldn't have any interest in that. Sometime recently, he'd finally managed to sell the hospital on using the sheets, and today I'd been asked to fill one of them out. No, wait, that was impossible. I'd never heard of a salesman or somebody on the outside being allowed to sit in on a patient's sessions. See, that's what I'm saying. That's a HIPAA violation. You can't be doing that. Just who was that guy? Crap, now I had another nagging memory to deal with. At least I'd figured out where the deja vu was coming from. I decided that next week I would ask the doctor about my memories. Until then, I'd forget about school and just stay in my room. I couldn't go to school if there was someone out there trying to hurt me. I didn't want to break my schedule, but it wouldn't do me any good if I was dead. I don't know, is he really in danger? I guess he should be worried about the girl that he walked in on. Yua, I don't think she's out to hurt him necessarily. I gave up on my search for Nozomi and went to @channel to see if there were any interesting threads. NewGen madness. The news board was filled with nothing but new generation madness threads. Even the ESO board had a recreate the new gen murders in ESO thread going. I was honestly getting sick of it. Okay, that's dark. Try recreating the crime scenes within a video game. That's ugh, ick. Ick. When I logged into ESO, Grim was there. Ah, buddy old Grim guy. 8chan's news boards have been boring as hell lately. It's all NewGen crap. Well, it's the biggest story right now. Every time there's a new case, it's a big festival. Everybody goes crazy. They haven't caught the killer yet? Well, you know, the cops are morons. Some idiots have decided that it's actually a cute moe girl. That demon girl. Visions of the dark eyes of the girl I'd seen during the crucifixion killing came back to me, and I shivered. I didn't want to remember it at all, but the slightest little thing and the memories came flooding back. I'd seen the killer's face. I knew who she was. Should I have told the cops? But I didn't want to get involved. I understand not wanting to get involved, but you absolutely should have told the cops. Like, maybe they have, like, a sketch guy on the force that can help narrow it down, I guess. Grim says, Demon Girl, is that the latest variation? That's going a little too far. Anyway, NewGen is just fascinating stuff. I joined a NewGen community on Furapara. Furapara? I don't know, is that like Facebook, or is that supposed to be like Facebook or something? You're getting too into it. The only ones in our guild who aren't into it are you and Big Sis Geiji. Seriously? If that was true, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with the discussion on our chat channel. NewGen's just really messed up stuff. It's crazy to read about. I do understand it being sensationalized. I knew you were into Goro stuff. But don't tell me you're the kind of guy who wants to see art in his murders. Okay, I didn't get anything like that from what he was saying. That's kind of a leap. That crucified corpse was such a mess, I thought it was some kind of art piece for a minute. If you wanted to call it artwork, I guess you could. Nah, but it'd be better if they had some perverted sexual element to them, right? Kind of like the ultimate S&M. This guy's a goner. Somebody needs to do something about him. Once you lose your virginity, you'll understand. So, you're telling me you're not a virgin? Ooh, little devilish face. Shock face. You traitor whores. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff on the aggregator sites. Take a look sometime. Ugh, I didn't want to look at them. They scared me. I wanted to run away from the fact that I'd been at the murder scene at all. That's why I'd cut myself off from all the information about NewGen. That was how I hoped I could convince myself that it was all just a delusion, but in ESO, I was practically a god. It wasn't enough to be strong. I had to know everything. Especially since I was kind of a leader in the guild. If I was supposed to be the leader, but I couldn't even keep up with whatever everyone was talking about, it would just be embarrassing. Oh, you're twisting my arm. I have to be up to date for appearances in front of my guild. I have to avoid that. I went to the address that Grim gave me. The top banner read NewGen Aggregator in big letters. Aggregator sites were a kind of wiki where any number of people could add information to articles about a certain topic. A NewGen aggregator site would have information about NewGen, constantly updated by different users. Some of that information wasn't trustworthy in the slightest, and sometimes there were trolls, but if you wanted an easy way to get a handle on the basic facts of something, it was pretty good. There were always tons of links, for one thing. That's fair. Everyone, wikis have their sources. People are pretty good about that. I decided to start with an article called The Case So Far. My pulse started to quicken. Just reading the site was enough to make me nervous. I could feel the sweat forming on my hands. Okay. The earthquake 2 months ago. 3 bizarre incidents in a row. Body nailed to concrete wall. Neighbors heard the sound of a nail being pounded in. Different killer. The pregnant man. And victim being a 56-year-old college professor. Okay. The first case, the one they called Group Dive, was a group of 5 boys and girls from a high school had all jumped off a building. It happened on September 7th, about a month ago. It was in the middle of the night at a place called Shibuya Cornelius Tower. The 5 had jumped off the building's helipad and died instantly on impact. The autopsy showed that each of them had DNA belonging to someone else under their nails, and there were scratch marks found too. It was theorized from this that the 5 of them must have jumped off while holding hands. Okay, that's also pretty weird. There was no sign of any kind of suicide note left on the roof. Below, the summary was some information added by some internet detective. These types were often referred to as snakes, who'd actually gone to Cornelius Tower. According to him, the roof was off limits to visitors, and the door to it was kept locked at all times. Of course, it was locked at the time of the jump, too. None of the deceased had a key on their body when they'd been found. This meant that the helipad was, in a way, a locked room, like you saw in murder mysteries, like you see in video games like this. There was nothing to suggest how the 5 of them had gotten up there. Okay. It was entirely likely that someone else had been there as well. That's what I'm thinking is, yeah, there has to be a person with a key, and they must have closed the door behind them. The second case, the pregnant man, happened on September 19th, around 12 days after the first. Early in the morning, near a Shibuya Station underpass, a college student was walking home from karaoke when they'd found a blood-stained man collapsed on the ground. The collapsed man was a university student who lived in Shibuya Ward named Chizuo Konoe, age 21. He was dead when he was found, but he had an unnatural bulge in his stomach. The autopsy showed that someone had opened up his chest, shoved a newborn baby into his stomach, and then sewn him back up. Okay, that's creepy as fuck. Is that how he died? In addition, DNA analysis had shown that there was no relation between the baby and the man. He was, according to reports, unmarried and had no girlfriend. Well, wait, I thought it was like a fetus. Is this... Well, newborn baby. So is this a baby that was born and then... I guess that means it was born and then died. I guess for some reason I was thinking it was a fetus that they put in there. The rest of it was internet speculation, but the baby appeared to be in the 32nd week of pregnancy, which would mean it was probably removed from the mother by C-section. Who the mother was, though, or where she was, or what she was doing, or even if she was alive or dead, none of that was known. It was possible that the cops knew, but if they did, they weren't talking. Okay, actually born, and if so, it had to have been by C-section. I don't understand the relevancy of that, but I'm sure that'll come back. I looked away from the monitor, feeling like I was about to be sick. This was disgusting. The killer was insane. I knew that for sure. And it was also possible. And now they're after me. That girl had been behind these horrible murders. Oh, that's right. Well, Japan's screwed. Oh, well, time to give up. Let's just log into ESO and never leave. I took a moment to gaze at my beautiful Saratan. Looking at her helped calm me down. I thought about taking the sedatives the doctor had given me, but for now, Saratan was good enough. Still, though, I had to do it to keep up Neidhart's reputation as a leader, but reading these, hurt. Oh, okay. It didn't show me that we were entering. Okay, I guess we just entered a delusion, but I don't get to know what it, or like I didn't get to decide it this time. It just happened. If it hurt, I think that's the first time that it's gone into one without prompt. If it hurts that much, don't read them. I mean, if you're a masochist, I won't stop you. But seeing you suffer hurts. Forget about this. Just do something fun. You can use me to jerk off like you usually do if you want. Of course. Seira-tan was such a nice girl. She was my only true ally, my waifu. I put my elbow on the table and rested my head in my hand, taking deep breaths as I stared at Seira-tan's smile. I felt so much better. Maybe I could read a little more if I took breaks to glance over at Seira-tan. I decided to give it a try. God, he's seriously the gooniest goon ever. Why had these two seemingly separate incidents both been given the label New Generation Madness? Okay, that's a good point. Why are these incidents considered connected? Because we didn't really see any evidence of that yet. The group dive was treated as just a suicide at first. But after the pregnant man case, the net started taking another look at the group dive and found out how many strange elements there were to the case. Speculation began that it was actually a murder, not a suicide. Okay, yeah, maybe they were coerced or brainwashed into jumping off the edge. Supposedly, the parents of the dead kids and their friends all said there was no way they could have killed themselves. Since both the cases were in Shibuya, a traditional center for young people, the news started calling it the madness created by the new generation of youth, then simply the New Generation Madness. The name stuck. Still, they gave it that name after 2 crimes. I guess I don't know how many violent crimes happen in Shibuya, but being 12 days apart makes me think that it wouldn't be related. I could also see journalists, trying to spin it as something bigger, just to meet their quotas, get their bucks, whatever. And then there was the third case, the crucified murder, they were calling it. That was the one I'd seen. The aggregator site didn't have much information on the case because it was so new. I still haven't figured out how long it's been. I feel like it's been maybe a week, because we've had like on days and off days at school. We went to the hospital today. We spent like at least 2 days with you, so maybe this is like 3 or 4 days. The murdered man was Hisa Ota, a 56-year-old college professor. He'd been nailed with stakes to the concrete wall of an empty house. Starting at 8 p.m., the estimated time of the crime, neighbors heard what sounded like something hammering a nail. This sound lasted for approximately 1 hour. I'd heard that sound too. I could still hear it. It was an awful sound. For what it was worth, no connection had been found between it and the group dive or the pregnant man. But after 3 bizarre incidents in the same city of Shibuya, everyone naturally treated the crucified murder as the third part of the New Generation Madness. The media and police were saying that all 3 were committed by different individuals, but the position, or rather hope, of most people online was that it was a single person, or failing that, a single group. There were some bizarre theories involving the occult going around too, and some people were saying NewGen got its start in the earthquake 2 months ago. Okay, yes, we saw the earthquake at the top of the list. Let's see how that wraps into this. 2 months ago, there'd been an Intensity 3 earthquake in Shibuya. An Intensity 3 quake was small enough that you could be walking down the street and not feel it, But despite the small size of the quake, it had made the news because 8 people had died. How do you determine that a person like died by an earthquake? I mean, unless these 8 people were in like buildings or building singular that collapsed, I don't know. Looking back, it was true that the NewGen incidents had started after the earthquake. So the proponents of the occult theory were saying that the 8 deaths in the earthquake could be counted as the first NewGen case. Sometimes they get into arguments with the more mainstream NewGen theorists. No matter who was behind it, it was bizarre that 3 such incidents could happen without a single clue as to who was behind it. A lot of people online were eagerly awaiting a 4th incident too. You pervs, you fuckers, leering at people and waiting for a violent crime to happen for your entertainment. Totally not like what we're doing, even though they're fictional people. If I wasn't directly involved, I might have been all WKTK myself, participating in the festival and eagerly waiting for a 4th incident too. Damn it! They were all having so much fun when I was feeling miserable. Why can't you just catch the guy already? It'd been over a week since the Crucified. Okay, thank you. That clears up the timeline. It has indeed been more than a week since the Crucified murder. I'm surprised that they haven't come out with more other than the victim's identity, but I also understand maybe not wanting to share some things with the public yet until they have more concrete answers. It had been over a week since Crucified, and there'd been nothing from the demon girl or the police. If they knew I was there, at a minimum, the police would have come talk to me, but there was no sign of them. Looks like I was going to be able to stay out of this after all, to not get involved. I feel like they potentially could come back around, maybe figure out he was there. Can you see the future? Yua's words flashed through my mind. If you can't see the future, I don't know how to explain how you'd have these images. Just when I was about to finally relax, I suddenly found myself feeling awful again. The photos that Shogun had sent me, they were still stored on my computer. Everything Yua had said was just a figment of her own delusions. It was crazy. It wasn't even a real theory. I hadn't been able to ask about it at the hospital, but there was no way I could have been someplace else while I was awake doing something that I didn't remember. It was all just impossible. It had never happened before, for one thing. There's a first for any kind of episode. Those gore images had to be fake. If you think they are, then prove it. Let's analyze those images. But they're creepy, and I really don't want to look at them. If you can prove that they're fake to that woman, you'll be able to go back to your normal life and have nothing to be afraid of. That's a pretty fair point, I guess. Well, I would still be worried about the demon girl, but it's like one less thing off our shoulders. You gotta do it. Yeah, that's right. Yua seemed convinced that I was the one behind Crucified, but that was impossible. I'd seen the person who'd actually done it. I couldn't let her blame me for the crime. Yasuji Ban entered the big conference hall at the Shibuya police station for the first time in 3 days. The conference for what was being called the Maru Yamacho crucifixion murder had already begun, and some of the officers were glaring at him for being late. Bond forced a weak smile at them before sitting down. Telling them he'd been in the toilet throwing up didn't seem like it would suit the current mood of the room. They'd assembled a task force to handle the Maru Yamacha crucifixion murder the morning after the incident. Between the Cornelius Tower suicide group and the Shibuya Station area man-baby murder cases, the police force was already stretched thin. So even Bon, a nobody lieutenant from Section 1 of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, had been sent in to help out the Shibuya Ward cops. Since all three cases had happened in the jurisdiction of the Shibuya Police, there was now a highly unusual situation: 3 different special task forces at a single station. Because of this, the team had to take turns scheduling their day in the big conference room. Since the media kept calling it the New Generation Madness, there was a rumor going around that they were going to resolve the shortage of officers by bringing all 3 together under a NewGen special task force. I do think they should be trading them separately for now. All of the officers thought it was a stupid idea, but that didn't mean it wouldn't happen. Lieutenant, give me a report. Captain Matsunaga was Bond's boss, and the leader of the task force. He glanced sharply at Bond. But Bond didn't notice. He took a deep breath while waving a paper fan at his face. Lieutenant! Lieutenant Bond! Are you listening to me? Is that him? Oh, I guess not. He's calling you! They're all waiting for your report. Hey! Only when Bond's partner, a rookie detective named Suwa, whispered to him did he realize he was being called on. Oh, so this is Bond. Oh, sorry. Suwa will give the report. Me? I told you to give the report if I wasn't here. Get to it. After a sharp elbow from his older partner, Suwa sighed and stood up. Oh my god. Oh, that sounds so bad. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just going to let it go. We finally finished analyzing the security camera footage from the area near the crime scene. It showed a suspicious individual in the area at the time of the murder. Murmurs broke out in the room. The air instantly became tense. The detectives from the Shibuya police all began to scribble down notes, careful not to miss anything he said. Okay, so someone was captured on camera. I wonder who that someone is. Which of the someones it is. There's really only 2. Well, unless they introduce, like, a new person. Or Yua or something. They were desperate to solve this case. There'd been 2 brutal murders. The group dive was still classified as a suicide in the span of a single month in their district. They needed to catch the person responsible, and now, even if it meant dropping their usual stoic demeanor. I'll put the image up on the projector. And then he did. Alright, looks like a street corner. Suwa put up an image on the projector screen, just like Bond had told him to do before they'd started. It showed a narrow, dirty back alley in Maru Yamacho. It was night, and there were a few lights, so it was hard to see much of anything at all. It also looks pretty blurry. This is the camera footage from the commercial parking lot around 50 meters from the crime scene. The parking lot was a tiny one, with no more than 2 spaces. It was located on a tiny strip of land crammed between buildings. Then why is... I'm surprised that there's a camera for only 2 car spaces, but okay. From here, you couldn't see the crime scene. You could barely see the road in front of it. It showed the road a street away from where the killing took place. There was no audio on it either. The footage had a timestamp in the bottom right. It read 21:34. 9:30 p.m. As I'm sure you're aware, a resident testified about hearing a sound like someone hammering a stake that started after 2100 and continued until around 2130. This video is from 2134, that is, immediately after the incident. The suspicious person appears on camera at around 21:34:53 for a 6-second period. You can see them running down the street toward the camera. Oh shit! Oh shit! I think that's us. I think that's Takumi. He's got that, like, grown-up Tommy Pickles hair looking ass that we saw in the last one when we were supposedly from the demon girl's point of view and she was looking down at him in the bed. That's him. That's him. That's us. We're so fucked. Just then, a person appeared on the screen. They were running toward the camera in a clearly disturbed manner. The camera's resolution was low enough that it was hard to immediately tell if the person was male or female, but Bon had already spoken to the science lab and had them analyze it. The lab says the individual is male, somewhere in his late teens to early 20s. They weren't able to get a physical description of him. That said, the school uniform he's wearing, it's a pretty distinctive one, and it's used by Suimei Academy, located in Shoto. And if you look at his right hand, the image changed to a close-up of the person's hand. It was holding something. Oh shit, is it the cross we brought home? This is easier to see in slow motion, but if you watch his arms while he's running, you'll see that what he's holding reflects light from the parking lot's lamps. Oh shit. When it was time to reveal the big discovery, Bon took over. After making Sua do the hard work. From its shape, it may be one of the cross stakes used in the crime. God damn it. We're super screwed. More murmurs from the detectives. Dude, how are we gonna get out of this? Unless we actually are the murderer? Like, I had the, like, split personalities theory. Normally, a main personality, I think, would not be aware of or, like, not have a memory of what the other personality does. They don't usually form a separate memory of, like, watching the event. That's pretty unlikely. So there's still something weird, like, indescribable going on that I guess we'll get to. I don't know. The killer behind the crucified murder might be a teenager. That was a shock. Oh, yeah, that's particularly gory for a child. Maybe the media's new generation madness was more than just a catchy slogan. So, this boy is our best lead at the moment? Yeah. That's right. Bon stroked his unshaven chin. It was a habit of his. Whenever he got a step closer to finding a criminal, he'd run his fingers through the stubble and enjoy his victory. That's all we have. Suicide and sat down. I'm never gonna get over that. Stop making me say that. That was really mean. You took the best part. Yeah, dude, you're screwing over your rookie partner. Bon ignored Sua's complaints and stared at the image of the teenage boy on the projector. We finally got a lead. Time to make sure it doesn't go to waste. Yeah, Takumi was all, oh, I haven't been stopped by any police. Yeah, yet. Now we know it's coming. Oh, that's right. Shogun had sent like 1 million links and we just kind of clicked on one. I found the image Shogun sent me in my cache folder. It was a JPG numbered 168491. Did he look through the other ones? Like, what are the other ones? Are they the same picture? Are they pictures of the crime? Are they nothing? Like, you can't just... How can he identify that? maybe the icons look different on his end, but he shouldn't be able to see the JPEG from this file screen. So what do the other ones say? What do the other ones have? We better get into that, because I don't know how he knows that this is the specific one that he already saw. There was a big part of me that didn't want to look at it. I mean, it was disgusting. If I looked at it, I was sure to remember the scene as it was in the real world. No, but if I was going to prove you are wrong and prove my innocence, and that I was safe, I would need proof. Seratan was here to help too. I could handle a little gore. I can handle this. I'm fine. I worked up my courage and double-clicked on the file to open it. Okay, yeah. So that's interesting, like, where the angle of the camera, from this image, the angle of the camera, where did that come from? Like, there wasn't any, like, publicly accessible cameras, like, closer than the one that they just showed at the police station. So this might be, like, a personal picture taken from, like, the roof or something next to or, like, when the building was happening after, I don't know. Yeah, it was gory, all right. But compared to what I'd seen in the real world, it really wasn't that bad. And it was a fake, too, right? I could handle that. The first time I'd looked at it, I'd only taken a quick glance before closing it. I hadn't looked at the whole image from top to bottom. Also, I kind of just realized, like, where's that light coming from, too? Like, I think they said those were the only street lamps in the area. And that, like, what... now I just can't remember. Like, was this area dark when we stumbled upon it in real life? That's what I want to remember, is if this was lit up at all, or any possible lights. This time, I was able to take a closer look, even if I had to suppress the urge to vomit. I didn't know how to tell if an image was a fake. Did you look at the direction of the shadows, the background, things like that, and see if anything was wrong? I mean, yeah, pretty much. It seemed to me the most likely possibility was that they'd taken a photo of the alley first, then added in the staked corpse later. And then, the day after Shogun sent this to me, they'd carry out the murder just like in the photo. Okay, that's a fair... I think that's an okay, like, first assessment. Because of the darkness and the low resolution of the photo, I couldn't tell much about the body. Only the stakes were clearly visible, and they'd be reflecting the light. The light was focused on the area surrounding the corpse, as if that was the only thing they wanted the viewer to see. Oh, that's true. You could lighten up a section of a photo, or whatever post-image, pre-image this is. It felt like whoever had taken the picture had framed it like that deliberately. Oh, absolutely. There was no way the light shining right on the body and nowhere else was a coincidence. Or maybe it was a coincidence? I hadn't gotten a clear look at the scene when I was there for real, so I couldn't say for sure. Ah, shit, he doesn't remember either. The demon girl wasn't in the picture. But if you stared at the picture until you thought your eyes would bleed, you could make out what looked like a person in the darkness on the left edge. Oh, there's something on the left. I think maybe I see, like, a smudge, but I can't, like, turning up my brightness, and that just looks indistinguishable. I don't know what that is. I almost missed it. So how does he know that it's a person? Because I seriously can't see anything. Between the low resolution and how they were standing in the shadows, they were almost impossible to spot. On my first glance, I completely missed them. Isn't there should be a button for me to, like, hide the text? Okay, yeah, I'm just seeing a little smudge in the corner. I don't see how that could be a full person. This was a doctored photo, or it should have been, so maybe the person who took it let themselves get photographed by accident and just forgot to delete it when they added in the corpse. I guess assuming it's the same person, because it could be a different person other than the person that took the person who took the photo might not be the same person that committed the crime, and therefore might not be the same person in the alley when the photo's taken. They were wearing a Suime uniform. It must have been that demon girl then. She wore one too. Are you sure? I don't trust this. But the person in the photo seemed to have short hair. The demon girl had long hair. So did Yua. I decided to use image processing software to make it easier to see. I booted up the software and dragged the image on top of it. Then I gulped before going to the level adjustment slider in the menu. I made the photo brighter and... Oh, shit!
Eh?
Oh, is this the same... I realize he's kind of in that same running pose, but it very well could be the same picture that the... Or not the same picture, but taken at the same moment as the security camera. Like something he did set off a couple of, like, motion cameras or something. Huh? What was this? Huh? What's going on here? The person in the photo? The person in the photo was, without question, me. Why me? This made no sense. I'd never even been there until September 29th. This was fake too. It had to be. I couldn't find any evidence of it at all, but it was definitely fake. It had to be. Shogun had sent it to me on the 28th, and the crucified killing had happened on the 29th. Yeah, we do know he screamed and ran away. If this photo showed what happened on the 29th, it would be a photo of the future. Isn't that what Yua said? Can you see the future? Yeah, that's what she means. Shut up! That's impossible! Oh, we're in denial. Oh, he's in denial. I kicked an empty plastic bottle at my feet and shut down the image program. I opened up the properties menu to see when this JPG file was created, and then I gasped. It had been created on the 28th, but that didn't matter right now. Ooh, there was something written in the comments section of the properties window. That's what my eyes were glued to. Whose eyes are those? Oh, shit. I still want to know how many pictures of the crime scene were taken, and like if the other pictures in the cache are of the crime scene at all. I slammed my fingers down on the keyboard before pushing it to the side of the desk and cradling my head in my hands. Defeated. Oh, Sarah, help me. I tried to stop myself from crying. What the hell had been going on this whole week? Why was all of this happening to me? I tried so hard to seclude myself from the world. I don't want any of this. Wait a second. Say Shogun had gotten a photo of me from somewhere and used it to put me in this gore photo. That would mean they'd either taken the photo of me themselves well before the murder or gotten a photo of me from some other place. Dude, I don't know. That didn't look like it was like cut and pasted in. Given that they'd come into the chat room out of nowhere and started talking as soon as Grimm left, they were after me from the start. Maybe Shogun knew who I was then. If he did, there was no telling when he or the demon girl would attack the base, and then they'd kidnap me. Yeah, not the dumbest conclusion to come to. I felt the prickling on the back of my neck, that gaze again. I was being watched by someone narrating menacingly. Don't look at me. I refused to look behind me. Time for the I'm not turning around so easily game. I was shaking with terror. I wanted to go check the lock on the door, but if I looked around, I'd lose. I stubbornly stared at the monitor instead. To calm myself, I opened up a word processor program and typed the thoughts that came to me. Yes, journal, process. This is healthy, okay?
きっとそうに決まってる。
Yeah, that has to be it. Demon girl equals murderer, can see the future. Shogun equals working for the demon girl. Yua equals working for Shogun. Okay? I mean, I really don't think Yua has anything to do with Shogun or the demon girl. She seems to be coming at it from another angle. As I stared quivering at the word demon, I started to wonder if the girl I'd seen at the murder scene really was one. Yeah, she wasn't human. That had to be it. That's how she took this picture of me. Maybe that's how she was able to see the future. Her demon powers would let her create a photo of whatever was going to happen. Okay. That would explain how she could do that terrible crucified murder all by herself, too. Alright, so we're just gonna count it as supernatural powers for now. And Shogun worked for her. They knew I was going to witness the crime by accident, so they sent me the image in advance. Unless Shogun is the name of the demon girl, I feel like that could be it too. I didn't know why. Maybe it was a threat? If you tell anyone, this is what will happen to you next. Or maybe it was a warning. That's what I'm wondering. It could be like himself from the future or someone from the future coming back and trying to send him a message like, hey, this is I don't really know the purpose, I guess. A death sentence telling me that I'd be next. If that was the case,
勝てるわけがない。
I can't beat them.
僕は奴らにいつ殺されてもおかしくないんだ。
They could kill me anytime they wanted to. I guess. They don't necessarily know where you live. Well, Yua knows where you live. So going by that logic, that kind of makes sense. Oh, speaking of Yua, okay. Yua Kusunoki was staring at the computer in her room. She had a serious look on her face, and she was quickly reading through the information on her screen. Eventually, she let out a small sigh and took her hand off the mouse, before looking over at the piece of paper in front of her. Yeah, it's the printout. It was a printout of the chat log between Shogun and Nightheart, the same as the one she'd showed Takumi Nishijo yesterday. Okay, we're day after the confrontation. Nishijo. She whispered his name. Images of him sitting alone on the bench in Shoto Park came back to her. She shook her head as if trying to drive them away. Yeah, all of these images are different. At least the names. The I guess name of the file. Yeah, the names of the file are different. They all have different numbers. That doesn't mean it's not the same photo repeated, but it does make me wonder if maybe the camera or whatever captured this maybe caught like a second by second take of this guy running away, maybe more, depending on the earlier photos. I don't know. And then suddenly she gasped and turned around. It felt like somebody was watching me. It is, sorry. Her own gaze was locked on the big Garo Froggy plush that lay on her bed. It must have been her imagination, she decided. She stood up, walked over to the bed, and fell onto it face first. I feel that. Sometimes you just do that. The sheets smelled like a sunny day. Her mom must have dried them outside this afternoon. As she buried her face in the pleasant scent, she looked around the room. Her room was kept neat and clean, a sign of her slightly obsessive personality. Oh, we noticed. The largest object in the room was a huge bookshelf, packed tight from corner to corner with books. But what made it kind of cute was the bottom was stuffed with complicated technical and computer books, but the top was filled with shoujo manga and anime DVDs. I appreciate a girl that can enjoy different media, okay? That is cool. That is cute. That's very cute. It's very moe. She let out another sigh and looked up at the ceiling.
DID.
Dissociative identity disorder. Oh, that's right. This was her theory as well. She whispered the name of the mental health condition she'd been researching. She had an explanation of it pulled up on the monitor. I also don't think it's going to necessarily be just a simple as a diagnosis of DID, because like I said, he himself has memories from his point of view, and I think that would be very different. Or would be inconsistent with this kind of thing. She had an explanation of it pulled up on the monitor.
辛いんですね。
It's painful, isn't it? She gave the stuffed Garo Froggy on her lap a tight squeeze and thought about Takumi.
私、
But I... What, like him? And then her expression went blank. She gritted her teeth hard. I want to know, like, how she knew to look into his chat logs, like, why she thought he was suspicious in the first place. I don't remember if they ever really addressed that in the last chapter. And I think we're going to call it there for today. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far in the video. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't, keep it to yourself or put it in the comments. It's fine. I'm really open to feedback. But the other thing is subscribe. Subscribe. Hit the little subscribe button. Let me know that you want to see the next one. And I hope to see you there. Thanks and bye!